3 indicators your marriage can be restored after infidelity. This is a question I get all the time. And there's like 3, actually there's 4 indicators that I normally use when I'm speaking to wives who are trying to determine what their next steps need to be. Okay, so we're going to dive on in here. What I would like for you to also do, share this. Okay, share it with someone who you think may need guidance or need who's working on restoring your marriage. You never know where people are. So go ahead and share this out or tag a friend based on where you're seeing this. Okay, so we're going to dive in. 3 indicators your marriage can be restored after infidelity. Now, consider these indicators they're normally like top priority. Like staying with your husband is amazing. Trusting that God is going to rebuild your marriage is amazing. But there are certain indicators that will let you know if it's really possible. Okay, kind of like if you're trying to lose weight, but every day you're committed to eating a pint of Haagen-Dazs ice cream, like I used to, then you most likely are not going to lose weight, which is what I did not do until I stopped eating a pint of Haagen-Dazs every single night. So, but this is when I was young and dumb. Okay, so we're going to pay attention to these indicators and use them as a guide. This is not something set in stone. Well, if he's not doing these 3 things or these 4 things, then that's it. God can't do it. Let's be clear. God can restore any and every marriage when 2 people are committed to obeying God and obeying his instructions. Your marriage can be restored. When 2 people are surrendered to his teachings, to his instructions, to his plan and his purpose for their life, God can do anything. I truly believe if he can raise Lazarus from the dead, your marriage can be risen from the dead. Okay. So here's the main indicators. Number 1, does he take full responsibility for his actions? Meaning he's not saying, well, it's your fault that I had an affair. It's you. If you did A, B, C, and D, I wouldn't have cheated. If he's going down the road where he's blaming you for his actions, then chances are he has not fully owned what he's done. And in order for you to change your behavior, you must fully take ownership for your behavior. I mean, that you can't get more plain and simple than that. If he's pointing the finger, if he's saying, well, if you'd given me more sex, if you cooked more, if we could communicate more. In marriage, people are not going to always be 100% who you want them to be at every moment of the day. That's why you have to have communication. That's why you need to talk. If there's something that my husband is or is not doing that is in some way impacting my connection to him, I then have a grown-up conversation with him saying, babe, A, B, C, and D, these things kind of ain't working for me. You know, can we go down a different path? Is there something else that you can do? Can we modify this behavior? But it's important, first of all, for them to know we have to speak up. No, we time off for being passive with this. Okay. So in order for you to change your behavior, you have to first acknowledge that your behavior is inappropriate. I thought I put my phone on mute already. And that's a them thing. That's not a you thing. That's not something that, you know, that's not something that they can point the finger at you saying, well, I didn't feel and I didn't know. Now, of course, if you're being demonstrative or just extremely difficult, then of course you play a role, but the final decision to have an affair rests solely on the person that had the affair. Period. Okay, so that's the number 1 indicator with if your marriage can be restored, if they take full ownership for what they've done and say, you know what, I made a decision I shouldn't have made. Okay. Number 2, has he broken all ties with the woman he had an affair with? If he is still out in the streets, you cannot restore a marriage. What is a marriage? There needs to be safety. There needs to be, there's a vow, there's a covenant that was made. When one person is not willing to keep the covenant and still chooses to continue to stay out in the streets, how in the world can you rebuild a strong marriage on the foundation of God, based on the covenant that you made with God? In order for that covenant in order for you to rebuild, it has to be two people that are willing to work it out and keep all and forsake all others. So if he is still engaging with this person, if he still has a relationship with this person, if he's still meeting up with this person, if he's still talking about he's still going to be out in them streets, that's a red flag. Now, if you've been with me for a while, yeah, we talk about it. What if they had a job and they're working together? Sorry, you need to get a new job. Because you're now at a point where you need to be safeguarding your marriage. You need to be protecting your marriage. This person has already infiltrated your marriage in some way. So now you need to make sure that you are protecting and safeguarding your marriage, which includes you got to cut all ties. If he's not willing to cut all ties, that is a red flag that needs to be discussed. Okay. 3, is he now 100% dedicated to rebuilding the marriage? There are steps needed in rebuilding the marriage. That means you're going to have tough conversations. That means you're going to need to bring in a third party, a professional that's going to help you navigate through those seasons. That means that there's going to be times where you're going to be asking for him to solidify your relationship. You're going to ask him to commit to conversations, to now check-ins, now rebuilding, now date nights, now, him healing from whatever it is that made him think that having the affair was okay. So, and it's a tough journey. It is not going to be easy. Anyone that tells you that rebuilding your marriage after infidelity is going to be easy is a lie. They're a complete lie. It is going to be tough. Can it be done 100%? Yes. Yes, your marriage can be stronger than it was before, but it is not easy. It takes intentional work. And if he is willing to go through the tough seasons of rebuilding and safeguarding and creating boundaries, then it most likely will work. But if he's just saying, you know what, you just need to get over it. If you're just dismissing your feelings and your experience that was created by him, then it's gonna be a little tough. Does that mean that it can't be restored? It's just a red flag that you need to be aware of. Okay. And number 4, is he 100% on board with you getting the help you need so you can confidently restore your marriage? You need space. You need opportunity to be able to speak to someone about your situation and for them to help you navigate through it. Is he 100% saying, babe, I'm committed to this relationship. I know you're going to need your own separate assistance. I know you're going to need to talk to a professional that's going to help you with what you're struggling with. Because what are the things you're going to be struggling with? Sometimes depression, the emotional roller coaster, the self-doubt, the questioning, why didn't I know that this was going to happen? The ongoing recurring thoughts of remembering and rehearsing how you felt when you found out, the cycle of what you've experienced, the anxiety that you may be feeling, the concern about what if, the doubts about, oh my gosh, 6 months, can we really restore this? 6 months from now, am I still going to be feeling the way that I feel? There are challenges where you as a wife, you're going to experience by yourself, separate from your relationship. Because there's always going to be that internal, first of all, the enemy does not want you to restore your marriage. So he's going to do everything he can to make sure that you will not be at a place of peace so that you can restore it. The enemy is always going to be on his job. You will be able to restore. Remember, we enter this from a place of victory. God's already given you victory over every single obstacle that's going to stand against you and your husband and your family. Yes, your family. Your ability to restore your marriage will affect your grandchildren. It will. Your faith in how I operate as a wife is a product of what I saw in my father and my mother's relationship. And what I saw in my father and my mother's relationship is a product of what they witnessed in their parents' relationship or lack of relationship. So what you do, what you're passing on from generation to generation should be better than what you've experienced. Because this is how, if you don't break the cycle, your children are going to break the cycle. They're going to have to fight the battle that you refused to fight. Now, does this mean you need to stay in a relationship where you're being abused? Now, of course, if he's beating on you, something like that, that's a whole other conversation. But whatever challenges that you're not willing to address and deal with and fight against, your children will most likely have to deal with the ramifications of that. My father's inability to stay committed to my mother is a battle that I mentally and emotionally have to battle against, because I was not able to see the transformation in him. See, your faith is built when you see other people overcome. The Bible says we overcome by the testimony of others. Your lifestyle needs to be a testimony. You think that just because you tell your child A, B, C, and D, that's enough. No, your children need to see what you're saying, what you're declaring, what you're speaking, what you're fighting against, the answers to those prayers that you've been declaring. So your life, the rebuilding of your marriage, how they see y'all go through the tough times and be restored, that's what's going to be the testimony that they'll be able to stand on. There's good testimonies that I can stand on, and unfortunately, there's bad testimonies that I have to overcome because they were modeled for me in my childhood and in my adult years. So you've got to make up in your mind that no matter how I'm dealing with my relationship now, one, I have to consider my children. Don't stay for your children. Stay because of the covenant and that your belief and trust that God is going to do what he said only he can do, and that your husband is aligned 100% with you getting to the area that you need to be in. Okay, so if you have questions, I forgot to say, go ahead and drop your questions in the chat section and I'll answer any questions that you have. But I just want to make sure that we understand these 3 to 4, and I need to change to 4 indicators that your marriage can be restored. Are there others? Yes. And I dissect that a little bit more during my Reclaim Your Peace Summit. It'll be coming up in a couple of weeks. So if you're not registered for the Reclaim Your Peace Summit, you definitely want to grab your complimentary tickets to that. If you are already registered for that, go ahead and drop a 1 in the chat. I want to see if you're registered. If not, then drop a 2, because we want to make sure that you are definitely, I knew you was registered, honey. And I'm going to I put the link in the chat, so you can go ahead and click on that and make sure that you're registered. Okay. Also, in dealing with him being 100% on board with you getting the help that you need so that you can confidently restore your marriage, you don't want to just stay married just to be staying married. We all know that couple that's been married for 50,000 years and they're miserable together. There's no love, there's no romance. She looking at him like she's sick of him. He looking at her like, why are we here? We all know that couple. You don't want to stay married just for staying married's sake. You want to make sure that you are thriving, that you're growing, that you're healing. that you're intentional about building. So 100%, yes, your marriage can be restored. I've seen it in my clients. They've experienced breakthrough after breakthrough. They're no longer struggling with the side effects of infidelity and how that can damage the marriage. And they're thriving, but it's intentional. So these 4 indicators will let you know. Use them as a guide. Use them as a guide. Not, well, Arisha said, if these 4 things are not happening, don't, I'm not Jesus. Okay. But based on my experience and based on what I've seen in my clients, normally these are the 4 things that are high indicators that, okay, we can make it. Now, does that mean it's going to be perfect and everything's going to be set in stone? No. Everything's going to be wonderful? No. It's going to be a turn. Being married is tough. Period. Regardless of whether you infidelity or any other marital trauma, the enemy does not want your marriage to thrive. The enemy does not want you to stay married. And the faster you see that and accept that, and then walk with the mindset of understanding spiritual warfare, fighting for your marriage, praying for your marriage, intentionally building, you have to have the mindset of, I'm going to allow God to fight my battles and I'm going to align with the word of God. Okay, so let's recap real quick. And see, today wasn't even too long. Normally we'd be on here 45 minutes chatting it up. But we're going to change the 4 indicators your marriage can be restored after infidelity. Does he take full responsibility for his actions? 2, has he broken all ties with the woman he had an affair with? 3, is he now 100% dedicated to rebuilding the marriage? And 4, is he 100% on board with you getting the help you need so you can confidently restore your marriage? And I do want to hear from you. After you answer these 4 questions, I want you to DM me, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram. DM me and let me know, out of those 4, where do you fall? What are your rate? Do you have 3 out of 4? Do you have 2 out of 4? I want to have a conversation with you to help you kind of understand this a little bit better and see if restoration is really possible. Now, consider, I am not God. So do not, this is based on my experience and coaching. Are there other indicators? Yes, there are. So during our time together, I will go over the other indicators with you, or during our message, you're messaging me, I'll go over with you. Now, what if you want to chat with me? I would love to connect with you. Schedule a connect call where I can know a little bit more about your situation, and then give you, pointers on whether it's going down the right path. Okay, so if you're interested in that, text the word discovery to 866-513-3087. Text the word discovery to 866-513-3087. And you'll be able to schedule a 15-minute call with me. Well, I'll get to know a little bit more about your situation and kind of help you decipher what the next best steps for you would be. Okay, so we've gone over the 4 indicators your marriage can be restored after infidelity. Go ahead, 1, register for the workshop. And then schedule, if you register for the workshop, also, if you schedule the workshop, you get priority scheduling with me. So even if you want to forget about the discovery session, once you register, you're going to immediately get a link to schedule a time to chat with me. So you probably want to just go ahead and grab your free ticket, your complimentary ticket for the workshop, so that you can go ahead and schedule a time to chat with me. You get priority scheduling. Okay, so hopefully you've had an amazing day. If there are no questions, you can drop your questions very quickly. Let's see, are there any questions? Awesome sauce, Barb. I'm so glad you were able to register too. I see a couple more people in the group. Yay. Are there any questions? I just want to give you the opportunity to go ahead and drop those in the chat, because I know there's a delay. This will be uploaded and sent to you tomorrow, okay, along with the transcript. All right. So if there are no questions, I look forward to speaking with you sometime this week. Register for the workshop, schedule your connect call with me. All right. Love